Yeah. So I think, in a series of pivots through big companies, large and small, and other things in my career, I think the last pivot of starting my own fund was, is really a combination of all the lessons that I've learned. Like, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. I want to learn. I want to learn something and build something. And I want to be around good people. Probably the part that has changed as I enter, since I into my pushing 50, not quite there yet. You think a lot about legacy, and you think a lot about like what you want to do, and probably one of the most impactful conversations I had, that was a decade-long path on the path I am today, which was, I was talking to my son, and I was at Bank of America at the time, and he asked me what I did, and I had a really cool job. But my son looked at me, he's 10 at the time, and goes, "Daddy, I think you just fly in planes and swear at people." And that was like a knife right in the gut, and I'd rip it up. And I was like, "No, I make PowerPoint too." And so, I mean, we were joking, but that really hit home. So that was really a line about like why I started aligning my life around trying to figure out this. And I didn't have this idea in mind that I'm going to raise a fund and do this. Like, I would not recommend this for most people, but it was clear one of the points in my trajectory. And also I turned 40 at that year. So all these like midlife crisis things were just crashing. And that was the way I get over pivots. Like,
Welcome to Midlife Remix, the podcast that explores midlife transitions and how people have reshaped their careers and lives to focus on what truly matters. I'm Stephen Miyao, a coach who helps guide professionals through these often challenging but rewarding pivots. In each episode, we share real stories, practical insights, and compassionate advice to help you find balance, purpose, and fulfillment. Hello, everyone. I'm excited to have my friend and former business partner, Mike Ma, on. Mike backs Coachable, mission-driven founders in financial services, digital health, B2B, SaaS spaces, and other industries. I want to start with asking you about how you grew up and how that shaped your ability to change and pivot, because you have done a lot of that.
sure. First of all, thanks for the introduction. It's fun to go walk down memory lane for all the stuff that we did. I have a lot to be grateful for our relationship. Everything from casino to snowboarding. I grew up son of two immigrants in Cleveland. They were business people, and kind of weaved their own path. I realized I kind of looked like them too, like through corporate America, and both became their own entrepreneurs. I think the one thing that was weird for me was that I was one of the few Chinese people in a relatively white Cleveland suburb. So there was always an otherism. I watched my parents go through their own careers and really try and seek and find happiness in what they did and fulfillment. And it wasn't always a straight line. There were struggles, and I got to be first party to that. So as I think to what I'm doing now, and all these pivots are, I watch them pivot. And so it's never made me scared to do this, or maybe it's made me less scared to do all of it because I just think I had good role models around that. And that was very much the combination of being dreamers and saying like, do whatever you want and enjoy yourself, to watching the actual twists and turns, I think has had profound impact of what I do now.
How do you measure success now compared to earlier in your career? And how do you, ensure that you're not holding on to outdated definitions of that? And I think that's a relation to the example that you said earlier.
I measured success at the same time, like the same ways that all like early in my career, like all 20-year-olds are working, like, ooh, how much money you make, how big, all that bullshit. Not to be morose, but like I measure things by like death. And I say this with a very profound, like, look, I buried two of my groomsmen, and so my view is like, do I feel like I had a good run at this, or, today? And that is how I evaluate it. Like, if today were it, would I feel like, if whatever afterlife you do look down, you're like, yeah, it was a good run. Like, you did it. You did the thing. And I look at it from a happiness perspective. I look at it a fulfillment perspective. Like, I'm very much more process driven than outcome driven. I'm much more network driven than material driven. I'm much more people driven. than that. And I will say, like, having lost, like losing my grandparents 90 hours from each other, like losing Mike and saying goodbye to Rob, like those have been really profound reasons that are like, what are you doing, dude? A good metric is how much I help people in the way that I can, right? You said something to me. I remember when we were after 9/11, we were traveling on this, we were flying to San Francisco, you and I together, first trip together. It's like, look, we were talking to our clients at times, like, this is just the best way I can. I mean, it is good. I mean, and my wife, Catherine, is a frontline pediatrician at Montefiore and works with kids and has done that for her whole career. Like, do what we do even compare to what she does? Absolutely not. Not even a candle. But this is what I can do. And that's sort of how I think about it. And actually, that's another Stevenism I say. You should only do the things only you can do. You say that you remember this? This is like a classic Stevenism I say. And I think, so one of the things, a way to think about it in honor of our friendship is I think about that extrapolated over the course of life. Did I do only the things I can do?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is a great way to put life into perspective, because as you said, it can happen so quickly, at any age, right? And so if you prolong what you're doing and you're prolonging what you actually want to do, that's probably not the right thing to do.
Yep.
Because it could be over.
Yeah.
Talk about how following your passions, maybe also felt like taking some significant risks, and how did you push through those moments of doubt when you had them, when you were making those changes in life?
I always think about like Billie Jean King's quote, right? Pressure is a privilege. It's a privilege to feel this. So when I feel those moments of like scared or the pressure is a privilege, and I'll give it for a second, like, and I'll own up the fact I'm scared and nervous, but then you have to have a moment where you're like, you know what, I'm here for this. Like, let's go. And you just have to like hold on to that, that pull, just get through that first part of scare, and then like, all right, do this. And there's no guarantee of success. Like, it is about legacy. Like, I know why I'm raising this. It's never been clear in my life why I'm raising this fund, both on the venture community, what it needs for the world, what it needs for the founder world, but also just what it means in my life. I remember exactly why I tried out for professional team instructor for the national team, because I had something very clear to say about what adaptive sports and disabled sports looks like vis-a-vis able-bodied sports. And I saw something that I wasn't really super excited about in the ski world. So I'm just going to find the highest pedestal I can be on and be on it.
And talk about mentorship, because I think a lot of what you've done over the years has been around mentorship. Why is that so important? What satisfaction do you get out of it?
Yeah. So I'm raising my fund, Sidecut Ventures Fund 1, as a pre-seed fund, and the thesis is coachable superheroes. So to unpack that term of what that means and all that marketing speak, coachable is my take on how we deploy capital and what I think the world needs. And so we deploy advice first and capital second. Said more simply, if you want to check from me, like, you got to survive me or one of my operating partners, like Steven. But I want to see if the founder's coachable, because at the pre-seed stage, I think it's the only thing you can underwrite. Your deck is BS. The financials are BS. Even the product is BS. But the one thing that doesn't change is the founder. But you ask the question, like, why teaching is so important. I'm going to start with like the very simple answer on this, which is I like it. I love it. One of my LPs asked me, limited partners, and asked, like, why are you doing this? This is the hardest part. And I said, I wish I had a more considered answer for you. I like this. I would pay to do this part. It is the part of human growth and development. I think the reason I enjoy it too is because I think my teachers have given me so much, and my advisors have given me so much. For me to be able to do that to others is the best.
A lot of successful people are successful because of the network that they have. And you have a great network but I think also your approach is, similar to mine, is that you at this stage no longer just cultivate relationships because you can get something out of it, right? Talk to me about your networking approach and philosophy, and your
Sure.
ability or inability to put up with the bullshit that we used to put up with when we were younger.
So my view is just to be curious and find, I think, high quality people. And it almost is irregardless of sector or outcome or transaction. There's just people I want to talk about like in my life. I'm a believer you need to do something together more than just, hang out and knock back a couple of beers. And over time, I think you just start curating like necessity and curiosity. This is like totally a privileged 0.001% problem in the world to be able to take those networks and mush them together. And some really cool stuff comes out, right? Like,
Right.
what a guy I taught snowboarding with that like helped through the exam process is an LP in my fund. I never even knew he was into this stuff, right? Or like just like the serendipity of the world is, you just have to be open to it. One, for its pragmatical benefits, but also two, that's just like karma working. Like if you're a good person and put good energy out in the world, good stuff comes back. And I think the closer you can put those circles together, like I want people who I can be inspired by and can help me and do things together. And I'm trying to do less on the outsides of those circles and more in the middle.
Yeah. A lot of people are in this process of trying to find a new job, and there's a lot of anxiety around that. I think specifically now, some of it is probably the beginning of AI having an impact, but also consolidation and maybe many other things. And it's not only in financial services, but it's all over the market. What practices help you regain some sense of control when you're going through this process? Are there differences between realistic concerns about the job market or unnecessary fears that can hold you back?
There's definitely fears. I think the number one thing is like you need to embrace the unknown yourself, right? So anytime a new technology comes out, I force myself to use it, right? And then you just have to embrace it. If you're going to use Gen AI, you have to use it. Or if you're going to, I went through a crypto rabbit hole. I mean, I'm out of it, but I'm so thankful I went through that. And that's the number one thing. And for me, there is an activation energy, and like, I have to do that. And then, but like once I'm in it, I'm like, oh wow, it's fun. And then you also know an exit point out of it. And I think once you get comfortable with that, like the future philosophically becomes a little more comfortable. And then you get comfortable with more of the technical aspects of what that future looks like and living it. It could be, using social media in different ways, it also could be comfortable with like this portfolio career, which we're really learning from the gig workers of the 20s. Like, and there's usually more zeros attached to how we all think through portfolio careers and getting comfortable with that philosophically.
Do you have any recommendations of books, podcasts, readings that you could recommend that really inspired you and helped you in this journey?
Yeah, I mean, the two things on this mid-career journey that have been like really like impactful for me, and I read a lot or listen to a lot. Again, a lot of influence of you. Remember, a book a week at Casino. That was what we did. On this topic of like mid-career transition, I would recommend two. One was it's by Arthur Brooks, called Strength to Strength. I mean, it's right on thesis about what you're talking about. And again, the idea is that when you're younger, success is defined by crystal intelligence, about how fast you process. And as you get older, it's about crystal intelligence and really seeing connections and mentoring. And so that's probably an easy one. Probably the one that's off kilter a little bit, it's a book called Range by David Epstein. He gave a TED talk, and if you don't want to read the book, you can just listen to it. But the thesis of the book is this: that generalists will rule the world. And his argument is that actually people who've done a broad palette of different things and can think horizontally are actually going to have the most impact, which I think is so relevant for what mid-career people can do well. And because you can start finding connections. And his opening story talks about Tiger Woods, 10,000 golf balls, out driving men at age 7, whatever, winning stuff. And then he tells a story of his other person that kind of fluttered around with badminton and wrestling and kind of dabbled in some racket sports. But he played a broad array of athletics, some soccer. That was Roger Federer. And his argument is that golf is a kind problem. There's this person, you have the reading, exactly, the ball's the same. Tennis is a wicked problem. There is someone on the other side of the net who's going to change pace, change things, try and beat you. And his argument is generalists win at wicked problems. Specialists win at kind problems. And most of what we do, as I tell you, raising a fund and doing this is a wicked problem. And I think being mid-career and thinking about the changes offers, instead of being scared by it, I think you should use that book and the thesis of you have range, you have lived experiences, not just in your professional career, whether you've worked in finance or done mentoring or been a coach or pastry chef, whatever. You have the opportunity, and I would even say responsibility, to try and combine all those things in your own special sauce to find what the range is of the wicked problems that suit you. And I think you contribute enormous to society that way by thinking through that range of experience. But two, I think it's just really rewarding to take credit for the things you've done in your life and honor the time and the people that have helped you with those things, and finding a way to package it all together into solving a wicked problem.
Well, thank you, Mike, for your time. I really appreciate it.
Sure, we will. It's fun. I mean, it's fun to go down memory lane and talk about it's fun to connect this all back to Casina. And I remember those days of and thank you for doing this and our friendship. It means a lot.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Midlife Remix, where we explore the challenges and opportunities of midlife transitions. I'm your host, Stephen Miyao. I'm excited to share an exercise that my conversation with Mike inspired. The exercise is designed to help you reflect on your career, overcome fears of change, and redefine what success looks like for you in this stage of life. Take a few moments to reflect on what kind of legacy you want to leave behind. Imagine you're 10 years from now. What do you want your children, your friends, or your community to say about your impact on their lives? Please write it down. Once you have that vision, think about a tiny step you can take today to start aligning your action with that legacy.